Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Thanks for joining us. I am Cheryl Gandy, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator with OmniView, and we're really glad that you're here today. OmniView is hosting this webinar in partnership with Alltech, and they're going to be presenting to us their document management solution, DocLink, from Microsoft Dynamics users. We'll be brief today, yet we're going to cover a lot of information in the next 30 minutes. So let me start by sharing a little bit about OmniView. We're a Microsoft Certified Gold Partner, and we're headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been helping businesses improve their Dynamics ERP, CRM, and hosting solutions since 2003. As a trusted Microsoft partner, they rely on us for the sales and implementation and service of your business software, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. And as your partner, we also want to make sure that you know all about the dynamic solutions that can help you run your business as efficiently as possible. And that's why we're here today. So let me present to you who's going to be our guest speaker, Laura Lishian. Laura has over 15 years experience in workflow and content management, and she really is a trusted liaison in the channel. She's often sought out as a subject matter expert, and she's spoken at numerous industry events. So we're really fortunate to have her today. Thank you so much, and welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity. Today, just to share with you about document management and how it can be integrated with your current ERP application. Okay, so let's start. What does document management mean to you? Now, believe it or not, all of you are doing some kind of document management today. The filing and management of your documents on your file cabinet, that is a form of document management. However, with that particular method, as you can see, you have missed files of documents, the consuming time of trying to find your document, and obviously there's no security and also disaster preparedness. I mean, if there's a fire or an earthquake, your documents, the originals, are gone. So the technology has changed to what we call scan to file. Many of you have those large copier, those printer, scanner, copier in one. And so you are scanning your documents in and storing your documents in a shared network folder somewhere. That is another form of document management. But the problem with that particular method is over time, you will have lots of documents that's on your network share folder. And so the challenge of having to find those documents, unless you are the person who stores the documents in the network share folder, you will not be able to, you're going to have a chance of finding those documents. And doing a Microsoft find will take forever. Also, there is really no true security. How can we restrict Tom from accidentally deleting that folder or accidentally moving that folder to another folder? How many times has that happened to you and I? So then the technology then have also software solution where, for an example, within your ERP application or your HR application, there is a built-in document management function. However, with that particular solution, often your documents are still being stored on the network, but it's just a link. There's a link in your software application, in your ERP or HR application, that when you click on that link, then it takes you to the document that's being stored on your network share folder. It has limited security, and also you don't have a lot of the true document management function. This is where DocLink come in play. And with our solution is it is fully integrated with the GP applications. So not only do we have the document management function of allowing you to store and search for your documents, but it also includes the security. We're going to talk about security in a little bit, the annotation tools. But it also, as the optional modules that you can add, would be workflow, the ability to track your documents and route your documents around for review and approval. Okay, and we're going to talk about workflow today. It also has some automated output tools. An example, your AR department, you generate monthly invoices for your clients. Often with the invoice, you will have to append your backup documents like your delivery ticket, the copy of the PO, or the packing slip. Okay, so there are output automation tools that will automate the sending out of those documents to your clients, and we'll talk about that also in a second. And then we also have a whole bunch of other business tools that can be utilized, which I will share you today. So let's talk about the integrated document management system. Okay, the benefit to our solution is that it is fully integrated with GP, so that it allows you to able to search and have access for your documents not only from your GP application, but also within DocLink. Because in your organization, you have staff that do not have access to your ERP application, but yet for them to approve off on that invoice, they need to see the purchase order. They need to see the delivery ticket, the packing slip. Okay, so right now you only have the hard copy that you're carrying it around from desk to desk, and a lot of time is you don't know whose desk it's sitting on. Here, with the integrated product, all your information, all your documents are being stored in one central repository, which is DocLink. And because of the integration within your ERP application, you will be able to search and have access to those documents. Yet for the folks who do not have access to the ERP, they can then also have search and access to those same documents through DocLink. Now, first is we need to get the information into the system. So we need to capture the information. There are various methods. Often you have those documents in hard copies. They come in the mail. Okay, so you can scan those documents in. You also you probably be receiving emails. The invoices coming in by emails. So we can capture the document, the attachment that comes in by email. We're going to talk about in a minute here, but also you have documents coming in by the fax machine. If it's a hard copy fax machine, obviously you need to scan it in. But many of you are using electronic faxing nowadays because it's an effort to go paperless. So we can actually monitor your fax server. So any fax is coming in, it can automatically be stored into DocLink, and then of course it's being routed around for review and approval, and also having the user within the ERP application having access to those same documents. Also is you may have documents that are being generated in Word or Excel or PowerPoint in their native format. An example, you have a contract that you generated in Word. You want to store that contract into the document management system for searching, but you don't want to have to print it out and scan it in. Well, we have a print function that allows you to print that document. It's a virtual printer that allows you to print that Word document directly into DocLink, and the system converts that document into TIFF or PDF format. Okay? Because we are integrated with Microsoft, you have the ability to store your files in their native format. An example, you have that contract again. It's in Word format. You want to store that contract into the system, but keeping it in the native format. You don't want it in TIFF or PDF. Okay, so our system, we store content. Not only scan documents in TIFF or PDF, but we store content. So your documents can be in any format. You have engineering drawings. That's in AutoCAD format. I have a sheriff department that store their mugshot and fingerprint. I have healthcare industry that store X-ray of their patients in the system. We have detectives that record video crime scene. All of that is information that can be stored into our system, and it can keep it in its native format, or our system can convert them into TIFF. Obviously, we cannot do that with video or audio file. Okay. We also can store XML file. Now, some of you may have documents that have barcode on the documents. we can actually batch scan the documents in and read the barcode. By reading the barcode, we can automate the storage of your document by the batch and also link to other applications and pull the rest of the data. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, okay? But bottom line is an example. Your system, your ERP application, you generate a, let's say, a delivery ticket. And you now need to take that delivery ticket to deliver the goods and have Mr. Customer sign that delivery ticket as proof they received it. Well, when you generate that delivery ticket, you can, your ERP application possibly can have a barcode on that delivery ticket. Now your drivers bring back those signed delivery tickets, and because you have barcodes on them, you can batch scan all those delivery tickets in by the batch. Our system will read the barcode and know, oh, that's the delivery ticket for order 12345. So then it goes to your ERP application with that order number and pull the rest of the data associated with that order over into DocLink, tying that information to your delivery ticket and your packing slip, and so on and so on. We have OCR. OCR also is another method to allow us to batch scan a whole bunch of your documents in at one time. The system OCR your file, reads the information, and automatically store those documents into the system, and can also automatically index those documents for you to minimize manual data entry. Okay. We also I already mentioned about the automatic indexing. Because our system is integrated with your ERP application, GP, we have the ability to, we link to your application, pull the data over, any associated data. Let's say, for example, your vendor, it may have the name, the address, their term of payment, the dollar amount. We can link to virtually any application, really, and pull over those data and tie that information to your documents, because then those data will then be available for searching later on. We also have SmartForm, which I will also demonstrate later on. But bottom line is, we need to capture your information and store it into the system. The capturing method, as you can see, can be done in many ways. Once the data is in our system, your information is secure, and you can now search for the information, and of course you can print it out, fax it out, or email it out on the fly as needed basis. Okay. Now, the security, it is very tight and very granular because our system is designed for enterprise-wide use. You can start the system in one department, let's say AR in AP department for invoice processing. You can now then expand it to AR, to sales order processing, to HR, to engineering department, and your shipping and receiving, and so on and so on. Because there are so many departments and so many staff using the system, our system has to be tight in security. Okay, so you decide who can have access to the system, what can they do in the system, and what can they see in the system. So you can decide that, hey, Joe can have access to the invoices and he can search only. Joe can email and print the document, but Joe cannot delete the documents or add the document or make any changes to the document. Okay, and we'll talk more about security later on. Now, with the system, you have also optional modules like Workflow. Workflow is one of the most popular modules because with Workflow, you have the ability now to electronically route your documents, for example, your invoices, around for review and approval. You have the ability to electronically track your documents or your projects, so you know exactly where it's at, who's working on it, how long it's going to take before it's completed. You can go in and see, oh, there are still 20 invoices that's still pending for approval. 10 already been approved and a check already been cut. Okay, so for example, Mr. Customer call or Mr. Vendor call up. Hey, Charlie, I sent you an invoice 3 weeks ago. We still haven't received payments yet. What's going on with that invoice? When do we expect payment? Well, you can go on into the system without having to pick up the phone. If you have security permission, you will know exactly where that invoice is at, whose desk it's sitting on, and when, how long it's going to take before a check is cut. This is also being used for sales orders, so you can know exactly where that order is at in the process of, for delivery. I will demonstrate workflow for you. But the information is in the system. Now, like I said, the example I talk about is the batch output of your documents by print, email, and fax, and so we'll demonstrate that in a second, okay? Now, one of the benefits to the integration is that we have an ERM function, Enterprise Report Management, okay? So let's say you create a purchase order in your ERP application, and you want to store a copy of that purchase order into DocLink because you want it to be accessible by other staff. Okay, you want it to be part of the records, when it goes through the invoicing or the payment process, the invoicing process. So when you generate your purchase order, a copy of that purchase order will be stored into DocLink. There's no need to print it out and scan it in. So it's great time saving. Okay. In addition to that, when it stores a copy of that purchase order into DocLink, it will also pass along all the information associated with that purchase order. Like the vendor, their name, the vendor number, the purchase order amount, the item of the purchase order. All of that information gets passed along over to DocLink so that you can search for it later on. And also we have the ability to attach that information to other documents later on, like the delivery tickets and the package slip and the invoices. Now, the key of having all your information into this document management system is the ability to search for it later on, because what's the point of having it into the system if you can't find it later on or it takes you too long to search? Okay? So with the integration, you now have two methods of searching and finding your documents. One way is within your ERP application. You can search and have access to those documents that's being stored in DocLink. The other option is having able to search for those documents in DocLink, because there are staff that do not have access to the ERP application. So in this demonstration here, this is a screen, our user interface screen, our search screen. Okay. So in this client search screen here, notice I have two different companies. Our system can accommodate multiple companies or division. So let's say your organization, you have sister company or you have different division, and you want to keep your documents separate from those different companies or divisions. So here in my example, I have Fabricon company. Within Fabricon company, we have different types of documents stored in that company. Here we have AP check, credit memo, and so on. Notice that when I click on AP check, to the right, there are what we call property values or index information associated with the check. So this information here is for two reasons. One, for searching. I can go in later on and tell the system, find me the AP check for vendor Alltech. That's all I have. I know the vendor name. That's it. I don't know the check, the invoice number, anything. I just know the vendor name. Okay? So these property values here are for searching. But also it's here to give you an eye into what the document is about without having to open up the document and reading through the whole thing. And you will see why in a little bit. But what I want to show you here is that our security. So when Joe logs in this case actually John logs in, the system is going to check. Does John have access to Fabricon company? So let's say yes. Now, does John have access to all these documents that's in Fabricon Company? Maybe we want to give John access to the AP check, but we don't want to give him access to the invoice or the purchase order. Okay? Now, let's say that we do want to give John access to the AP check, but I don't want John to have access to the vendor number. Okay? We can tie the security down for your user, not only by document type, but also down to each property values. This is very useful, folks, because our system is designed to comply, to meet with a lot of the government compliancy rules. HIPAA requirements as one of them, Sarbanes-Oxley. We have many organizations expand the system later on and store their employee files, HR files, into the system, knowing that our security can keep the employee out of the, of the HR files. But then there are certain employees that are able to have access to the employee file, but we can restrict the security so that they don't have access to the employee social security number or the date of birth, okay, to meet with HIPAA requirements. So now, let's do a search. Let's say I want to search for the AP check. AP invoices. So notice when I click on AP invoices, the property value change, because with the system, we include a tool that is fully user definable. You can define these property values for each type of your documents. Okay? So later on, when you want to expand the system for HR, you're going to create we're going to create a document type called employee files. You're probably going to have a property value for first name, last name, date of birth, date of hire, department, social security number, date of birth, and so on and so on. Those information, again, are there for searching and give you information about the document. So let's do a quick search. So I want to search for AP invoice, and the only information I have is the invoice number. So I type in the invoice number, okay? I click on search. Now, if I have more information, I can input it in here, because the more information you feed the system, the more it can narrow down your search, okay? Because if I was to type in just vendor name only, it's going to pull me every single invoice that we have for that particular vendor name. But if I have more information, like a particular invoice number, then it will pull up that one particular criteria only. So I'm going to click on search now, and here we have our search results. The system gave me one invoice, AP invoice. And to the right, it gave me what we call the property value information about that invoice. So here it gave me the date, the amount, the vendor, and the vendor number, and so on and so on. So if I have a search result, like 100 search results, by having access to these property information here, I know if this is the right document or not. I don't have to open it up and reading through the whole thing, which is a great time saving. Now, here's further. This is one also unique about our solution. Let's say I search for this invoice based on that invoice number. But then I decide, you know what? I want to know all the documents associated with that purchase order number, okay? Give me all the document that is associated with that purchase order number, because the documents are stored in DocLink and they are tied to each other by these property value information. I can click on it, and now the system found me 3 documents, invoice, purchase order, and delivery tickets associated with that same purchase order number. That's a unique feature right there of the integration, okay? Now, I can now select them all and click open or double click. Here's another unique feature. Normally on other systems, for you to view those 3 documents, you click on one, you look at it, you close, and you open up the next one. You look at it, you close, and you open up the next one. But here is we can actually give you access to all those documents on the same screen. We can set it up for thumbnail format, or here's the tiling format, okay? So here we have the purchase order, we have the packing slip, and we have the invoice. So you don't have to open and close, open and close. You have access to all in the same screen, okay? So let's move to now workflow, now that we cover searching. As you can see, the benefit of the searching. anyone with security permission can have access and search for the documents. With our system, it's unique that you can literally search and find your document in seconds. Okay? If you encounter a system, over time, your database is going to grow larger and larger because you're storing more and more documents into the system. So one thing you want to find out is how long does it take to search and find my documents? Okay, a lot of applications out there. If you have, the Congressional Library, you can do a search before you go to lunch, and when you come back from lunch, it's still searching. But in our system, it doesn't matter the database size. It will literally find your documents in seconds. Now, let's move to workflow. I mentioned with workflow, the benefit is that you can electronically route and find and search, your documents and know exactly where it's at in the approval process. I'm going to go a little bit faster here because we're running out of time. So let's take an example of an AP process invoice. Okay, there are many types. We have PO invoices, non-PO. You can actually use workflow for, the routing approval of any types of documents. So invoices comes in, the mail clerk opens up the invoices and scans them in. Now the AP clerk, okay, the AP person goes into the system, open up the invoice, take a look at the invoice here within the system, okay, and then now with workflow, she can then decide, okay, for this invoice, I need to route it to the CFO for approval. Okay, so this is an example of initiating workflow manually on the fly as needed basis, where you selectively decide who you want to route the documents to. We also can have workflow set up so it automatically kick off workflow and automatically route it to the appropriate people depending on your workflow process. Okay, we can do that. But many people prefer the manual process just so that you have control and you can selectively decide who you want to go to. Because, there may be some invoices, oh, well, this invoice, I want to go to Joe and Jack and then Bill. But the other invoice I have, I wanted to go to Melissa and then Joe and then Jack. Okay, so you decide. So here I select I want to go to the CFO. Okay, now how does the reviewer and approver know that they have a document or an invoice that requires their action, their approval? One way is getting an email alert. So in this case here, John get an email alert. This alert can be sent out daily, hourly, weekly. You decide. Because with the alert, it gives you a total count of how many documents that is assigned to that person, and out of those documents, how many are overdue and how many are priority. So then they can go into the system and review and approve them. That's just an alert, okay? Now with the alert, because maybe you have 100 invoices that comes in, a week. Does the CFO, do you want to overwhelm the CFO with 100 emails every time that it hit his desk for review and approval? Okay, so many people would say no, so then we can send out an alert instead. Okay, the other option is, so here's the alert, okay. The other option is we can send out an email for each document or each project. Notice in that email approval here, we have attached the document so they can review and approve on it. Also in that email, it has their workflow function. So directly from the email, they can look at the document. There's the invoice. There's the, any document that goes with it, and then they can approve or sign, or deny that invoice directly from the email. If you have Android phone or iPad, you can also have access access your email, and again, have access to the document, and directly from your phone, you can deny or approve directly from your phone. There's no need to log into DocLink to perform your workflow function. Okay, so now the document goes to the CFO. The CFO decides that he's not going to approve off from his phone. He's going to go into DocLink. So here, the CFO logs in, and in his workflow inbox, it will have a list of all the invoices or documents that need his attention. Okay, and he will have access to it from here. And from here, he can, if he approves it, he can actually stamp an approval based on his login and the time and date. This stamp here is permanently stamped on the document, so it can never be removed or altered. Okay, that's one way of tracking approvals. So 2 years from now, you can go back and say, I wonder who approved off on that invoice for payment. Well, here's one way, seeing Mark's approval stamp. Okay, so from here, then Mark can then decide to move it to the next step. He approves it, and and it routes it accordingly to the next step. Okay, so that is example of workflow. Now, here's a feature, another feature we have, which is called GL Smart Form. Because of the integration, okay, within DocLink, you can have your staff perform their coding. For example, the delivery ticket comes in and it goes, to your shipping and receiving. Normally, the shipping and receiving write up, the coding on the document and send it to AP, and AP then have to translate it and then code it on in the ERP application. But because with the integration, the shipping and receiving department don't need access to the ERP. Within DocLink, they can actually perform their coding directly on the right-hand side here, where they can just type in the vendor number, and the system will go directly to the ERP, pull over any associated information for that vendor. Also, the system have direct access to your GL code. Okay, so the GL code will be available on a drop-down list for you. Also, the description of the item. Now, if you have certain vendors that you always order the same item, the same code, we can create that as a template, as a default. So you don't have to select the account code and description, each time. Okay, so you can perform coding within DocLink, and once you're done, the system will create a cover sheet, something like this, with a summary of all the coding that you performed for that particular invoice. Okay, when you're ready, there's an import button here, that green button's on the right. You click on it, and the system will pass all this coding information directly over into GP, so that AP then do not have to perform the same coding, because you want to reduce double manual data entry. Okay, so by clicking on that import button, the system passes that information over into the ERP application. Now, there's another area of performing coding, and that is within your ERP application. Maybe your shipping and receiving department, they don't want to deal with coding. They just want to continue writing their code on their documents. They scan it in, it kicks off workflow. Now the AP processor can perform the coding. So he or she then can go into the ERP application if they wish. We have a feature called Side by Side, where within the ERP, they have access to the documents. Okay, they then can perform their coding. Okay, and with a simple click, our system will pass along that coding that they just performed, all that data, over to that DocLink, tying that information to the invoice that was previously stored into DocLink. It will tie the information to the invoice, to the delivery tickets, to the packing slip, to the purchase order also. Okay, so these property values here is what ties all the documents together. Okay, so recap, we have two areas where you can perform coding. One, within DocLink. With the GL Smart Form, the system will pass along all that coding over to your GP, so the AP do not have to perform coding. Option two is that you can perform coding within your GP application, and with the integration, the system pass all that coding information over to DocLink, tying that information to the document that was previously stored in DocLink. Okay, we have annotation tools. So if you can draw lines, eclipse, you can redact certain confidential information if you wish. If you scan in the invoice, the shipping and receiving wants to write down the code on the document. They can do so with a sticky note if they want, or a text box if they wish. That's one way of doing it. Okay, so that's the annotation tool. We have a full audit trail. So you can go back 2 years from now and see who accessed the documents and when and what action was performed, because we log the date, the time, who logged in, and what action was performed. So here's another way of going in and tracking approval of the document. Okay, so here we have the tells you who accessed the document and what action was performed. Okay. So, and also as a workflow supervisor or project manager, you can go into workflow with your security permission. You can see the status of the document, where it is. So you can see which invoices are still hasn't been processed yet, which one are still pending, and which one's been approved. Okay, and you can export this into a report format if you want. You can also reallocate the task to other staff if you wish. Okay, so that's about workflow. And then we have the distribution routing. That's the automatic output tool manager that I talked about, where we can automatically pull all those documents together and automatically batch email it out, or batch print it out, or batch fax it out for you. So here's an example in an email. We have the standard template body message that you wish to include in your email. It will pull over, the email address and also the documents associated. So from there, from the email, you have access to, you're going to email the invoice to Mr. Customer, and within that invoice, you also have the delivery ticket as proof that you delivered and they signed it. So our system pull all those documents together for you. You don't have to manually pull those documents. Okay. So that, and here is the purchase order. And that is our output automation tool. We have a whole bunch of other business tools also. We have the Smart Form Toolkit, which is also very, very popular. It's to help create forms so that you can go even more paperless. We have them using for HR onboarding, expense report, credit card reconsolidation, anything that you generate form. So really a quick example for, let's say, expense, let's see here, for the expense report. Right now, your staff, they're creating their expense report in Excel format, and then they give it to AP. AP then have to enter that data into, the ERP application. Why that double work? So here we can create a template, a form, so the staff can go into DocLink and input in their expense report information. Now, because we are integrated with your ERP application, we can pull over all the employee information, also the GL code, the description, so they don't have to manually input that information. The only thing they have to input is the dollar amount. Okay? We can customize this area to mimic your expense report form. Also we have the ability for you to attach your receipt. So now with this expense report, I'm now going to upload my receipt. Okay. Once I'm done with a simple click, the system will create my expense report form, and also there I have my receipt. And then once I'm done, I simple click, it push all these expense report information over to the ERP application, and of course a check can be cut. So AP do not have to re-input in that same information that the staff just typed up. Great time saving. Like I said, onboarding of employee files. And then, you can use this as a checklist. There are many different forms that you have to pass out for the new employee. So you can check off the form that's been created, generated. Here are all the forms, and of course the form can be generated within our system also. So just like that, really quick. Let's see back. I'm uploading of the forms. So that's just an example of our integration, the Smart Form Toolkit. So as a quick overview, our system is fully integrated with your ERP application, which being as a benefit for you because we're fully integrated and we're a partner of Microsoft. When you upgrade your GP application or when you upgrade DocLink, rest assured that it's compatible because all the testing is done prior to before releasing of any new release. Okay, data gets captured, stored into this repository document management system. It's secure, and you can manage the security. It has the workflow, so it helps you to track and route your documents around for review and approval, and everyone can have access to those same documents in both DocLink and also your GP application. And now you want to output and share that information out with the staff and also the. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for the opportunity. If you have any questions, like I said, please contact OmniView, and they will be to connect you to the right folks for any further demonstrations or discovery call or meet your requirements, and that we can put you. Charlene.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for that presentation. We really appreciate it. And we just want you guys to know that OmniView is here for you for any questions. Please go ahead and capture our data right here on this screen. I know there were a couple questions. I'm going to trust that we can grab those offline and hopefully get those answered for you guys. Please contact us. And I just want everybody to be aware that this is a monthly webinar series, and we will be here to help you see your world. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.